DNA compiled on people. They know where they live. They know everything about them, their family tree and all that stuff. And maybe they can do some selecting, whatever from it. It is scary. It really is.
Yeah, I got one more. I mentioned something that was kind of nefarious, probably. Can I go down the rabbit hole a little bit deeper about the DNA?
Go down the hole, yes.
Okay. What if the DNA that they're collecting, and, of course we're trying to tie that in with abductions, but I think they're related because sometimes we know that military probably has craft that are, half the UFOs up there are probably ours, and probably working with some of the ET races like the Greys, to do this, like the abductions and the cattle mutilation or whatever. I don't know that for sure. But the DNA research might be. Keep in mind, I just mentioned about a database, very detailed database of DNA. They can use that to develop biological weapons that can target a specific genome or a particular race to wipe them out. Think about that.
Also, yeah, you're right. And Brad, who's a trucker down in Oregon by Crater Lake, says, how do you know this DNA isn't used to, basically, the aliens to create a farm?
Of hybrids?
A farm. I take, what is a farm? You grow food. You have cattle. What happens?
Oh, you mean the humans are on the menu now.
Yeah, that's what he said, So I figure when the word farm means a farm. So, maybe they're taking all this stuff and using it to create cattle of humans.
That's a possibility. However, I do want to say something that I firmly believe in. It says there seems to be, when we talk about these agendas, we are talking about numerous races of aliens. We're also talking about something that's not black and white necessarily. I think there are alliances that are more in line with allowing the human race to have free will and kind of standing up for that. But then again, there's a lot of them that don't see it that way. They think they own the planet, and they think they own they look at us like cattle. Some of them probably do. You don't know for sure. But I'll tell you what, I know that the folks out there that I'm part of the Enlightenment movement myself in the beginning, the love and light initially, and with the right circumstances, I understand that. But not everything is love and light and is a good agenda. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
I think there are good forces, and there are those not so good forces, and I think it's up to us to try to determine that, and try to, I feel that we're proponents of free will, and we want to assert our free will, and anyone that interferes with that free will, if we assert it, definitely has to pay with karma. We don't want to give permission to any of these beings to take us without our permission, and we don't want to feed into that either. Sometimes we expect these aliens to be saviors. But if we do that, we're just allowing ourselves to be part of their, we're giving them permission to take control of our lives, and I don't see that either.
Yeah, now I want to jump in. Mike Buxell, I hope I'm saying that right, Mike, out of Dallas, Texas, said that you kind of scared him when you were talking about, that they could take the DNA and basically eliminate a certain part of the population by, creating some type of biological or something, to basically terminate some profiles. And I guess what you said kind of hit home to some people.
Well, they do that kind of research anyway in certain places. I'm sure the CDC does work like that. I'm not saying they're doing it, are performing nefarious deeds by generating, creating a problem and creating a solution. But you have to think about that. I mean, you really got to question everything in life anymore, because sometimes we get too complacent. We're thinking, oh, they'll never do anything like that. And we know the government won't do that to us, or this agency won't do that to us. How do you know? You have no way of knowing what any of these agencies, what's going on behind the scenes, and where you fit into that picture. You know what I mean?
Well, you just look at it this way. Who knows who's controlling our government? Who knows what our shadow government is being run by? Think about that.
Right, and the scary part behind. Well, I don't want to keep saying words like scary. I try to avoid that because what's that going to do for other humans? It just puts them in panic mode, and I'd rather look at us from a position of power over these folks. But if you start talking about the shadow government, you have to kind of figure that the shadow government is an extension of the ETs that want to control the people on the planet. So there's alliances between what I consider the elites sometimes with some of these ETs. And really, you don't know, sometimes these ETs are very human-like. And you were alluding to the Body Snatchers movie, okay?
Oh, yeah.
About the invasion of the Body Snatchers and how sometimes part of these abductions could be for the purpose of mind control. They could get certain people and implant certain thoughts and memories and put them back down the earth, and they kind of have a way of manipulating them, especially if they're in a position of power, to kind of work their will.
How about if they just replace the people with a clone that's already programmed to do certain things, and then they get rid of the original?
There was a movie back in 2001. It was Gary Sinise in it, and it was called The Imposter. Do you remember that movie?
I do.
Okay. Perfect example. He felt like he woke up and he was trying to convince everyone that he was the real deal. But they whoever were catching on the fact that there were clones out there, and they were implanted with bombs to blow up at a certain time. And they had a catch, kind of like a kind of switch in there that if they were discovered, it would go off prematurely. And so he spent this whole time during the movie trying to convince people that he was the real deal. Come to find out, when they went out to the woods, he found his own body, and once he realized that he was the clone, it set off the bomb and blew up everything. Yeah. I mean, those kind of things, movies are just preludes to reality of things that, I'm going to tell you the truth, but I'm going to do it in the form of a fictional movie so that I'm not saying this is real, but you're going to have to figure it out on your own.
Well, I think whoever wrote that movie did a lot of deep thought, because think about that. I remember that movie. I remember his wife, and then, he found his body of himself, and then the look he had when he found his body, and then kaboom.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a very thought-provoking movie.
I think that was his best actually movie he's ever made. But that makes me wonder, maybe some of these people, when they're being abducted and having implants and they're coming back, maybe they're not the original people. They might not be. We don't know. How would we?
And if they do a really good job of it, maybe the clones don't even know they're clones. And that's the scary part until something's activated in them, kind of like the Manchurian candidates we were talking about.
Yeah, like the Russian sleepers that were in this country at one point with their little suitcase bombs and stuff that they didn't even know. They thought they were born in the United States, and everything they thought they were, normal people till they got a phone call and a certain word. And then all of a sudden they knew who they were. They just that activated them.
I think there's also a tie-in. It's not a change of subject; it's related. But I think when we were talking about how the aliens are monitoring every human, I think they're actually tapping into our AI technology. I think they're part of the ones that helped us develop the AI technology. Like there are phones and monitoring every move we make on every CCTV camera in every town, or every cell phone that has a camera or a microphone on it. They're recording everyone in every place, you see.
Look what happened Friday. You know, I'm sure you heard Timothy calling on. Every time we started talking certain subjects, what happened?
Yeah, it got distorted, got garbled,
and it didn't make
right time.
He was on a landline, and then we went to a cell phone. It didn't make any difference which. Now, I have talked to Timothy before on a regular phone. His phone never had that problem. As soon as we go on the air and we start talking about, you know, implants, abduction, and, you know, seeing UFOs going right by the front of his windshield of his car and going above a cattle fence and underneath the power lines, all of a sudden, boom, scrambles. Like it doesn't want him to be able to get that message out, what he saw or what happened.
Yep.
But it's not just him. It wasn't just him. No. It was Dave Edmonds, and there's a bunch of other people I've had on. Soon as we started talking about a subject too much, too deep, things would start happening with the phone line.
Well, that tells you right there, there's got to be this tie-in with, artificial intelligence is being used.
Oh, yeah.
To monitor words and phrases that people use, and if certain people are targeted, then it's going to use some kind of scrambling. You know, it's just going to have a way to mess with the phone lines.
Now, hey, I'm going to have to cut it because it's getting close to the break time. But if you want to call back maybe at 7:33, or 8:33, we can continue on for like about 28 minutes.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. I'll be listening into the program.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be listening and asking questions. Okay, Sam. Hey, thank you for calling.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, my friend. So, James, are you still there? You're awful quiet.
Yeah, I'm here. There's no getting word in with you guys talking.
Hey, well, that's the whole point. We're a talk show.
That's right. I wasn't going to interfere with you guys. You guys are good stuff.
Well, I mean, it's a lot of things you got to think about. You send off your DNA. Who do you trust these companies? Do you know who the CEO is? And how do you know that he is the original person and not a duplicate? And they're collecting people's DNA for some reason other than, giving you information about your family. Do you trust anybody? I mean, that's like giving somebody your bank account. Here's my bank account number. This is my routing number, and this is the bank I use. Here it is. But I don't expect you to take any money out of my account, but here it is. Here it is.
Right. I wouldn't trust them. I mean, nearly 80 years ago, Herr Joseph Mengele and his Nazi cohorts were trying to come up with a virus to kill certain races. So who's to say that the aliens aren't doing the same thing? I mean, these are scary thoughts, but it's true. And DNA is not something I would give out. I wouldn't do it. Not for nothing. Nope.
No, but I mean, seriously, with all the DNA they have now, they can actually pick what minority out there they want to, and if they wanted to, create a biological weapon to get rid of those amount of people. Now, is it our government doing it, or is it aliens, or is it a combination of aliens and our government? I don't know. But I can tell you one thing, I am so fed up with the news, be it fake or not. What's going on in Washington, D.C., I just want to get 1 minute political here before the break. I have never seen anything in my entire life so screwed up as Washington, D.C. is right now. It is the most ludicrous bunch of people I've ever seen. They could make a movie and call it The Clowns of Washington, D.C. I don't know. Does anybody in there really know what they're doing right now? And who do you believe?
These are really good questions. I don't know who you would believe. That's the whole $1 million question right there.
I think we're setting ourselves up for destruction. I mean, we're pulling out of a country, and we're basically going to allow those people that were our allies, they're going to get killed. I mean, and then somebody was saying, I'm going to have a deal probably with China by the end of the week, and we're going to end the tariff thing, and everything's going to be good, right? And then he turns around and levies another slap on to China, the next day. It's ludicrous what's going on right now. Anyway, we're going to be back in 4 minutes. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark. Yes, we're a paranormal conspiracy show. So I just wanted to throw that in there. because I've gotten a couple messages here on my instant messenger that people are saying, I didn't know you're a conspiracy. Yeah, we started